All right. All of you freedom loving boys and girls, I'm sorry, I just went live and I just got a little notification. Apparently, we are no longer live on Twitter. But hey, let me just do my little intro and we'll get to that. So, hey, wherever you are on this big blue marble of a planet we call Earth, whomever you are, wherever you are, Mark Centerline Systems, welcome to our tonight's live stream. I'm going to do a little bit of housekeeping, and then I'm going to bring on our guest, Brian from BuildHuntXplore. Great guy, all kinds of great information, great stories, and we'll bring this stuff up. We'll show you where to follow him, and I'm also, if we get time, I'm going to show off a video he just did, and that'll be kind of how we end it. But here, this little weird Twitter thing. And if anyone's a big Twitter user, maybe let me know what's going on. I did just see this. Jack, actually, in one of his last videos, kind of said the same thing. I guess I should have put two and two together. Jack from Black Scout Survival saying, hey, I guess we can't do live streams on Twitter anymore. So I'll have to figure this out. Maybe I can just upload this, but a premium account is required to create live broadcasts. Yeah, I guess now you got to have a live subscription or a premium subscription to live stream over there. So I don't know what the hell's going on with that. Okay, so why is it doing this? Okay, can I just click out? Yeah, there we go. All right, hey, just a little bit of housekeeping, and then we're going to get started. So, and you may have heard me talk with Blake in the past. So we're starting another kind of venture, and there's a lot more that's going to come out of this too. But we've talked about, creating this channel where we talk about, preparedness and self-reliance. And so we have everything set up now, so I can finally kind of say this. Let me just kind of present here. I'm just going to do it here so you can see. So we're starting off with here, let me just come back so I can see myself. So you can see it. So it's Millstone-SRG. So this is our YouTube channel. So seriously, go give us a follow over there. Millstone-SRG. That's where we're going to start doing classes, different types of content that's really just geared towards preparedness and self-reliance, right? So we're on, right now, I created channels on YouTube or ScrewTube, Rumble, Twitter, and Instagram. And it's pretty much either, and that's what it is right there, Millstone-SRG, and let me just do one more. Come on. There we go. Now I can do it. And then one more. And here we are on Twitter, but I'm not sure. I guess we might not be able to do live streams over there, as I just found out. Apparently now you have to have, you got to have, a premium account. But there it is right there. Millstone-SRG. We're going to do our, here, let me just bring this, get rid of this. Oops, sorry. Remove. All right, there we go. And then, so last little bit of housekeeping. So Millstone-SRG. If you've got questions or comments, already it's Mark at millstone-srg.com. So we already got this set up. We're going to do our first live stream this Sunday. So that's Sunday, the 21st. Yeah. Hey, is that correct? Yeah. Sunday, the 21st at 1700 Central Daylight Time is our first live stream. It's going to be, everybody, this isn't going to be political, but I'm just going to say it. So, everybody is by now well aware that there was an assassination attempt on President Trump, former President Trump. I don't give a shit about your politics in the matter. Like the guy, hate the guy. That's irrelevant to me, right? So from a self-reliance and a preparedness perspective, this is an inflection point. You could have woken up that next day and your whole world there is a timeline right now where it's Mad Max already, or we're being nuked and shit like that. So from a self-reliance perspective, it's same thing. There's still people without power in Texas from the hurricane. There's, every year, rainstorms, snowstorms, freezing ice, whatever that event is, you don't get to pick and choose when that happens, but you have to deal with the consequences. So we've got an all-star lineup. We've got Clint Nemesis Camo, former 18 series. That's a special forces. He's going to join us. If you saw any of our previous episodes over on Mission Critical, I've got XXX coming on. Well, I hope I can get him on. He's got a very wide background. He's actually done he actually is an instructor and long range precision marksmanship. And he's actually done some details. So kind of like what you hear that has happened recently. Then we've got Patrick coming on, former CIA, GRS, and he's doing crazy wazoo shit right now too. So, and then hopefully we'll get David on, former CIA guy who was in Libya during the evacuation of our embassy Tripoli. So a pretty dang good all-star cast coming on. And then myself and Blake, you know, again, the face for the voice for radio and the face for silent film, me. But that's going to be our cast. So Millstone-SRG. You can find us on any of your social media. Just type in Millstone SRG. Give us a like, subscribe, and we will do our first podcast. It'll be a live stream. We're going to use that event to sit and talk about this, about preparedness and self-reliance. And obviously, you know, we got a bunch of guys who've got a great set of history and background and credentials. And now that we've got more information coming out, there will be a little bit of that conversation. But again, that's really, it's not politics. Don't bring your politics into this, right? You know, leave that aside. We're going to use those events, what we do know about that, as a way to help start people to get, you know, as a way to start getting people to think about, holy shit, I literally could wake up and the next morning there's no more internet, there's no more cell phones, there's no more this, there's no more that. So how do you better be prepared? How can you do that? And if you've seen us talk about this on this channel before, it's not just going to be kinetic. There's just too many other things, canning, planting, farming. So stay tuned. That's what's going to happen Sunday. So that's, again, Sunday, the 21st of July at 1700 Central Daylight Time. And again, use whatever channel you want, except maybe Twitter, or X. I don't know, because I don't have a premium subscription over there. But we'll definitely be live on Rumble and ScrewTube. Before I bring up, and I'm sorry, that was a lot more housekeeping. Brian, just give me one more second. I'll just give everybody's quick comments here, and then we'll bring on Brian. We got Gene from across the pond. Woo! CLS is back on air. Thank you for saying that. I had some people like, oh, what? And I thought look, I get it. I made the announcement before Independence Day. But yeah, but we're moving the live streams only on Thursday night. I can't do both nights. And even this week, I got my butt kicked. I'm trying to generate more content for Centerline Systems, and that'll kind of come up here in a little bit with Brian. So yeah, the Centerline Systems live stream only on Thursdays. And then Sunday nights going forward, we're going to start doing stuff over on Millstone. If you didn't already catch that, you know, go listen, rewind and listen again. Snowshoe Dave just checking in. What's up, my good man? He knows what I'm talking about. And we got Tennessee. Heidi ho, boys. All right, Tennessee, nice to see you. I need to talk to you a little bit later, so we have to figure out that concealment caddy and what we're doing, but I'll hit you up after the live. And then learn me something. What's up, gang? All right, everybody. I think that kind of takes us up on comments. Brian, you good down there? You ready to come on board? All right. Yeah, I just ate up 8 minutes. Without further ado, the man, the myth, the legend behind everything that is awesome and BuildHuntXplore. Brian, welcome to the live stream. Thank you for taking the time out of your day to be here. Do you want to just kick it off and just say hi and introduce and tell everybody a little bit, whatever you're willing to share about yourself?
Sure thing. How's it going, guys? Thanks for having me on, Mark. Real quick, as I was getting ready, I realized, hey, how Mark and I met was kind of funny. It all revolves around an MCC. You remember this, Mark?
Sir, I don't even remember what day of the week it is half the time anymore.
So we did a video for Work Tough Gear with a camp stove, and I put this in the video that I bought, and Mark went nuts over the video and thought it was awesome and reached out, and we connected from there, and here I am. But it was just funny. I just thought it was an awesome canteen carrier, and that's how we ended up meeting, was I put that in the video. So I thought it was pretty cool. But yeah, Mark wants me to talk about who I am and what I do. And my dad and I have a channel called BuildHuntXplore. It used to be called Wolf's Prairie Outdoors, but in all the trade shows I've gone to and everything, one big thing I've learned is nobody knows how to spell prairie. So it was a lot of explanation going on for that. And I ended up changing the name to BuildHuntXplore because it fits what we're doing and where we're going with our channel and everything we have planned in the future. We're also building a homestead, so that's part of the build. Also,
Brian, just real quickly, can you see what I just put up on the screen?
Yes, I can.
Yeah, is that correct? Just so everybody knows how to tag you, right?
Yeah,
but everybody pay attention. It's not EX for
Yeah.
XPLORE. It's just the X and XPLORE. Yep.
Yeah. And the reason I went with that is, you know, I'm an 80s baby, and BHX reminds me a lot of BMX. So we had BMX bikes. Also, if you went to the movies much, THX, because the sound was all done through THX sound. So it was really beefy and bassy, and it rolled off the tongue really well. So that's what I went with. But the build side of things is just like we're doing now, building community in the firearms industry and just the outdoors industry in general. And then building our homestead, what they're doing. We also have a homestead channel called Forest to Farm, because we bought a forest and we're turning it into a farm. And my parents and I are doing that with my family, building a house for my parents, a house for my family, studio, going to have livestock, the whole 9 yards. And then the hunt is obviously hunting. And then the explore is our explorations across the country in our job. We are photographers and videographers in the firearms and outdoor industry. So we travel a lot. I've been to 37 states in my job. So it's taken me a lot of places. Eventually, hopefully I hit all 50. And it's really cool to be where I'm at today. I never would have dreamed I'd be doing this. Originally, we did weddings, events, commercials for local people, you know, local music videos, just all kinds of small local stuff. And I like to hunt with a 45-70. And around here, I'm in South Carolina. Our deer are not very big. You know, you hit 200 pounds, you're starting to peak out. And what you got?
I'm sorry. I just love this story. And I just like, hey, can you just start it all over? Just like this, everybody, this is a great story. I'm not joking. This is a good story. So I'm sorry for interrupting, Brian, but I didn't know you were going to do that. And I'm like, oh, okay. No, hang on. Let's start over. I don't want this to get lost in the sauce of what you were just saying about, you know, videography and stuff. So this is a great story, folks. Pay attention.
So, you know, I love hunting with a 45-70. I love the cartridge. It makes me feel like an old cowboy. One of my favorite movies growing up was actually Quigley Down Under. You know, it's not a 45-70, but it's close. And I just love a 45-70. So I hunt with that quite often. And as I said, the deer around here are not very big. And a lot of people in South Carolina were telling me I'm going to blow a deer in half if I shoot it with a 45-70. And I heard it all the time. And I got so sick of hearing it. And I said, okay, you hillbillies, I'm going to show you it's not going to blow a deer in half. It's all about cartridge selection and shot placement. So I've got a buddy who owns an indoor range, and he has an awesome processing room. And he lets me hang my deer in his cooler. He's got a big walk-in cooler, and then process my deer at his processing room. And so after we shot the deer, we filmed the hunt, and then we took the deer there and we showed the deer hanging. Hey, here's the entrance wound. Here's the exit wound. And, you know, it was a perfect double lung and heart shot. There was hardly any damage to any meat. We used a 325 grain FTX round. And for those of you that don't know, it is a lead core and a copper jacket. And quite often the jacket will separate from the core. And we actually had that happen on this deer. We had 2 exit wounds on the deer, and we managed to capture the jacket on the outside of the meat inside the hide. So we pulled that out and showed, you know, this is one of the things you will experience potentially with the FTX rounds. And it's not a bad round. It dumped its energy. And actually in the video, we had perfect lighting. You could just about see the bullet traveling, and you could see, I filmed it in slow motion, and you could see the shock wave roll through the deer's body. And it was just amazing to see. But then, as I mentioned, very little damage to the meat. I actually saw broadhead damage far worse than that 45-70 damage hanging in the cooler. So it was an eye opener. I hadn't seen broadhead damage up close like that was as violent as it was. So it just helped prove that 45-70 is not going to blow a deer in half. And we did some other hunts as well and captured what those did and hung the deer up and showed it. And it helped people see that 45-70 is not going to blow deer in half. It's all about the cartridge selection and shot placement. And that's the great thing about a 45-70 is it runs the gamut. You can buy super lightweight or super heavy rounds, super slow, super fast. One of my favorite ammo places is a guy out of Ohio called Steinel Ammunition. His name's Andy Steinel. And he loads some 730 grain subsonic rounds that are moving 1,000 feet per second. And I cannot wait to take those hunting. They are just monsters and insanely quiet. It's like shooting a pellet gun. Everybody I let shoot the Marlin I've got with that ammo just instantly has a smile on their face. So that's where the whole thing started, with getting online and doing what I do. And oddly enough, you know, I'm a photographer. I take pictures of stuff, and I said, hey, I'll start an Instagram and start taking pictures of my guns and everything I'm doing. And within 6 months of starting to do that on Instagram, our entire client base started shifting from weddings, events, commercials to firearm companies and, you know, accessories and whatnot. And it led into doing things I never would have dreamed I'd do, getting to meet people I would never would have dreamed of meeting. It's kind of surreal. You know, it's quite often I have to pinch myself and think, is this really happening? I never dreamed I'd be in the position I am, but I worked my butt off at it. And I live with the mindset there's always somebody out there trying to take my job from me, take food off of my family's plate, basically by taking my work away from me. So I never get comfortable. You've always got to strive to do better and be better. And I'm constantly pushing myself to learn new things, learn new tasks in, you know, Photoshop or Premiere when I'm editing, or Lightroom, or just new techniques behind the camera. I'm always pushing myself to learn something new. I never get comfortable with where I'm at, and that's how I've gotten to where I am today.
Hey, and there's a comment I want to come up here, but that correct me if I'm wrong. That was kind of like the breakthrough for you. Again, that was where you started shifting from doing like the wedding videography and photography, right? Wasn't that kind of like, and then didn't that video go viral for you? That whole 4570?
Yeah, for the size we had, I think we gained, I don't know, 5,000 followers off that video in no time. You know, most people, it takes a long time to get monetized on YouTube. Not that we make a ton of money off of YouTube at all, but they, you know, you have to have a certain number of subscribers. You have to have a certain number of views per month and minutes per month or whatever. And I think we hit that in just a few months. It was crazy how fast it went. So that really helped us.
Right
and
on.
The funny thing is, when we started doing firearms industry stuff, we've always loved Henry rifles. And my dad, he said, you know what, Brian, one day we'll be doing work for Henry. And I said, man, they'll never even begin to think of working with us because we're so small. You know, it's just you and me. And he said, you know, it's not about being big, it's about being the best. And lo and behold, now Henry's one of our clients. And it's so funny. And he loves to rub that in my face.
Okay, so now, you know, kind of jumping a little bit out of sequence, but I want to, there's at least one comment I got to get to you. But now that you just mentioned Henry rifles, we could easily just go and show that latest. Sure. You want to just maybe do that? Okay, let's get to these two comments, because one is definitely for you. And then for people that maybe get a better sense of who Brian is and BuildHuntXplore and the level of work. And it's not a super long video, but we'll just play that here in a second. But first, I just want to bring this up. Angry Viking veteran. So for everyone else who maybe already started looking to find the millstone, he's saying he couldn't find millstone -SRG, but it came up when he searched at millstone SRG. I don't know if that's on ScrewTube side or, you know, or Instagram, whatever, but yeah, you know, boys and girls, yeah, like what AVV just did, you know, just figure it out. It's millstone SRG, maybe with the hyphen, maybe with an @ sign, but you'll find it. You'll find us. And I definitely appreciate AVV that you're looking out and trying to get that. And hopefully we'll see on Sunday's live stream. But now bringing this to you, Brian, before we do the video.
Yeah.
So Tennessee 978 says, I don't know how to even read that first. Like, wahoo! Did he say 4570? You want to respond to that, Brian? I mean,
yeah, I said 4570. I've got quite a few 4570s. It's hands down one of my favorite calibers. Like I said, you know, it can be loaded in such a variety of ways where a 5-year-old could shoot it, all the way up to something that actually one of Andy's loads, he used to be called Excalibur ammo instead of Steinel ammunition, but I guess because of Excalibur barrels, he decided to change back to his name. And he has different loads of like Goldilocks load, black powder loads, and then his heavy hitters that are the high power loads. And he had one that I still have about 30 rounds left from when he was called Excalibur. And it basically kicks like a 458 Win Mag. It is insane, and it's one of my favorite rounds to shoot. I don't know why I like the punishment, but it's so much fun to shoot. It knocks the crap out of you.
Hey, and just on that note, before I bring up the video,
right.
So, you know, for those, you know, whether it's on Brian's, you know, ScrewTube channel or on his Insta, matter of fact, to try to get the clip, you know, that we're about to show that you did, and you know, I'll let you do the, you know, kind of set up that stage. But it, you know, I was going through your feed just to try to find it, and all I saw was all that little Insta like, hey, we can't show this to your non-subscribe, and I'm just, so maybe that could actually, yeah, I see you smiling. You know what I'm getting at. I don't know if you want to talk about that a little bit too. But and you know, maybe that could just be near the end of like for people who are interested in this, following these type of subjects, following individuals like yourself who's out there crushing it. I mean, and seriously, you do great content. There's just no doubt about it.
That.
Well, it's just, hey, look, don't pat yourself too much in the back. That's all you. You just do great content. You know, it's like, you know, you do. I mean, plain and simple, you know, own that shit because it's true. But, you know, that wouldn't be a bad thing to talk about, too, for people who, like, you know, who are, and I don't know if we want to throw Insta under the bus here because it's other places, too, that, you know,
man.
Yeah. So
I have been shadow banned for a year and a half. I have been floating around 14,500 subs on Insta for literally a year and a half. And not until they allowed collaborations between companies was I able to actually start growing again. And I finally hit 15,000 in the past few days. But then I lost like 6 people overnight and it dropped back below 15. And I think now I'm right at 15. It's crazy. I don't even worry about it. I do me and that's it.
Well, and that's what has been my thought, you know, and I've grown my channel on Insta organically and, you know, but I've been at 10,000 for like 6 years. I mean, like, you know, it doesn't let you grow at all. And, you know, and now that I've been kind of paying a little bit more attention to the analytics, and it's like, hey, you know, I love it. I just got to throw this story in there. Like Instagram will send you a little thing like, congratulations, you just reached a milestone, you know, boost this post. And then you start kind of going back deep into it and you're like, hey, like 30% more people saw it. And then you look at it and it's like, yeah, but none of them are new subscribers. You didn't show that outside. Like, and I'm not banned or anything. You're just not showing it outside of like a small number of people. So social media, man.
It's awful.
I don't know how you do it, honestly.
What's funny is you guys will love this. If I could provide for my family as securely as I do right now and be assured that everything's going to be good, I'd take everything I've got and chunk it in a river and back up 200 years. And that's the way I am. I love, one of my favorite, most inspirational videos is Dick Proennke's Alone in the Wilderness. It's a PBS documentary about a man in his 50s. His wife had passed away. He was a carpenter, an amateur filmmaker, I believe. He flies to Alaska and he goes out, cuts down a bunch of trees, debarks them, and he can only get to it by float plane. He flies back out. He has a pilot that took him there and picked him up. And he goes back a year later. And after the trees had dried, he goes back with the heads to the tools, like a draw knife, a couple of tools already built, and then some supplies. And he builds, I think, an 11 by 15 or 17 cabin and ended up living there for 35 years. He captured it all on one of the old hand crank video cameras that runs for 15 seconds. There's no audio. And a guy named Bob Swerer gets a hold of his journal and the video and actually he narrates the video based off of the journal. He puts in sound effects, the whole 9 yards. And every time I watch it, my wife is like, no, we're not moving to Alaska. Like, that is my dream life, to live completely off grid, away from everything. And yet I live on the cutting edge of technology. I have to buy new gear every month, it seems, because things are constantly changing. So it's like I am my own worst enemy.
But that's such a great point. Then, you know, I just had, and this is not scripted. I did not know Brian was going to say that, but I was just talking to one of my relatives last night, and you know, just like everybody else, there's a million things going on in our lives right now. You don't need any extra drama and all this kind of crap. But we were just talking, and what you just said, Brian, I was like, you know, if I won the lottery, I don't even care if it's like a $500,000 lottery, you wouldn't see me again. I hate to say it, like I'd have 100 acres, I'd have my tools, and then like, I don't know, he's out in the woods building another shack or whatever, Viking longhouse or whatever the hell he's
digging holes.
Yeah, digging holes just to fill them in with my goddamn Kubota tractor or something. I don't know. You're absolutely right. Okay, well, so on that, do we want to do the video or because we're kind of talking about homesteading, and you're big into homesteading, so that isn't.
So my dad and I have been looking around for a long time, and after I got married, and we looked around and we found 20 acres of land and we bought that. And we are in the process of clearing that. Actually, we're in the process of building my parents' house right now. And then we're going to build our house and then develop the farm. And actually, we're a little over a month behind on my parents' house. We're working on the floor system. And a little bit of background, my dad and I did residential electrical for 20 something years. And I was doing the photo and video on the side until it just took off beyond my dreams. And we were working on Dad's house. So I'm not a stranger to construction. I've never been severely hurt doing construction in 20 plus years. And we were laying the Advantech for the subfloor, he was screwing down a piece that we had just laid, and I was staging some more. And the piece I was standing on as I stepped off shot out from under me. I fell and broke my 7th and 8th rib, and that's been 5 weeks ago. So we are at a standstill right now. But to this point, we have cleared a few acres. We've cut a 600 and something foot driveway, almost 700 foot driveway through the woods. We've done some random clearing and saved all of our topsoil, because that's one of the things that always gets lost when you're doing a lot of building and clearing like we are, is topsoil just disappears. And topsoil in South Carolina is very hard to get a hold of. Everything is red clay because the land has just been destroyed over the years. Well, the 20 acres we bought was actually the last of a King's grant, and it had never been farmed or anything. It's always been woods. It was right on the edge of what was a peach orchard, which is not far away. It's a high school that's on the peach orchard, about a quarter mile or so. And it was just pristine land. You know, it's not the best slope. It slopes about a foot for 30 feet. And then we've got a nice kind of flat area down by a creek. And when we started clearing, we're like, instantly, we've got to save this topsoil. It's actually good soil. So we scraped the top foot of soil off of the entire area that we cleared, and it's mounded all the way around the property where our houses are being built. And then we'll distribute that once we get everything settled and worked in. And that way we've got some real topsoil, not garbage. We're not importing other seeds and weeds from other places trying to buy good topsoil. And the topsoil around here, like I said, is just trash. But we're going to do some chickens, rabbits, honeybees, a couple of cows, maybe some sheep or goats. Grow everything we possibly can. We've got some big plans. It's just a matter of getting these houses on the ground and getting rolling.
So I know you and so I'm not ambushing you here, but so again, when we do start really kicking it on the millstone, on the SRG side, I definitely want to have you come back to talk more about that homesteading, because, you know, that topsoil is a huge thing. And, you know, and one of the comments, I guess, or one of my comments would be, good on you for saving that topsoil, because a lot of people just look at a piece of land and they won't realize that there's a lot more to it. What's your aquifer? Yeah. Can you get your own well? Do you have running water through it? What is that slope, as you just said? Because then you're going to have to look at your swale, because that's going to be drainage and all. There's a lot of issues that go with it. But a huge one is soil. Like, you know, and I don't know if somebody would let you do it, but if you were buying acreage, I would just say to somebody, like, you know, okay, and if you're thinking of, you're going to do some stuff there, well, why not just go and do some soil samples randomly throughout whatever? It doesn't even matter what size the property is. And then just find out, because as Brian just said, if you've got nothing but clay, I mean, best of luck. Then you're going to be doing, I mean, there's solutions. You can then do raised beds and greenhouses and stuff. But that kind of information right there is really valuable, Brian. I think a lot of people, go ahead.
I'll say one thing we did that also has really helped, and it's amazing how it's deteriorated, is every piece of tree. I've cut down, this sounds crazy. I worked with a buddy who was an arborist. I worked with him for 2 months leading up to working on our property, because I needed to know how to fell trees properly and not die. Because some of these trees are 120 feet tall, 3 to 4 feet in diameter. They're loblolly pines, and they're all 60 to 70 years old when they selectively cut before. And they're nearing the end of their lifespan. We don't want any tall trees near the houses, because they will eventually fall.
That's right.
It's a given. So I've cut down, no joke, between little stuff up to these big ones, I've cut down over 1,000 trees on that property. Between the area we cleared 1,000 feet of property line, because one side of the property line has houses on it, and back up to it. And, you know, on the edge of a forest, trees always grow out and over towards the sun. So all those trees along the property line were hanging over buildings, dropping on, just tearing up fences and buildings and everything. So we cleared that back 30 feet for 1,000 feet. And then we've done a lot of random clearing in there for different reasons. And I, you know, like I said, I learned to fell trees from my buddy, and we took everything except for the stumps and chipped it, because he had a chipper. He would loan it to us, or we'd rent a chipper depending on what we were doing and how big the stuff was. And when we did our first major chipping, he dumped everything that he could. And then we got a skid steer we rented and hauled it over and piled in. And we had enough chips to bury a full-size dump truck. And I've actually got pictures somewhere online on our Instagram or our Facebook for Forest to Farm of Dad standing on that pile, and he looks like a tiny little man, and he's not. And it's just so funny to see it now. It has deteriorated down and turned into actually really rich soil. Had tons of mycorrhizal fungi, which is a fungus that grows in there that is excellent for the growth of everything. It's super nutrients and all kinds of stuff that we'll talk about later when we do other things. But it's amazing to see that ecosystem grow inside what was just wood chips. It's really cool to watch things like that happen.
And so just again, going right back into it, yeah, I think that'll be a great podcast, a great conversation. Blake is definitely going to want to get in that. I personally don't have my acreage anymore, but going back to what you were saying about trees and everything, and I'm thinking of somebody I know locally who actually does this for a living, but you can't, I mean, you can, I suppose there's lots of things you can just do, but you don't just go out there and start dropping trees with a chainsaw if you don't know what you're doing. If you want to survive anyway, you don't do it that way. So yeah, but everything, I love what you just said, because everything goes back into that. Oh, I mean, I don't mean this again. Everybody kind of takes some of these words the wrong way, but a conservative, right? It's conservation, right? It's learning how to work with your terrain, work with nature, and how to conserve, like in your case, you're trying to conserve. And you don't want an old growth tree. Like, so here in Minnesota, birch trees can be some of the worst. And depending on some of the conifers, some of the pines, people love them. They're close to the house, and, you get birds and all that kind of stuff. But birch trees just don't last that long, right? And then all it's going to take, and they rot out inside quickly when they reach that. When they die very quickly. And next, like you said, now you've got an 80-foot tree that's got like a, a 2 to 3 foot, diameter, falling on your house. You can't do that. You gotta push that stuff back. See, it's just that you got to think this through. You just don't jump right into it and do it. And if you don't know how to chainsaw, that shit will kill you. Matter of fact, just for this space that we're talking about, it's public knowledge, but I'm not going to say who it is, but he did post stuff on Insta. This was a couple years ago. He's a maker. He makes great gear. And even if you know what you're doing, and Brian, I've seen your photos, and I had my buddies laughing at me because I had a hard hat with, like, the mesh down ear. Now, I didn't always wear my chaps, but there was plenty of times where I threw my chaps on. There was definitely times where I was using wedges and everything else to, you've got to do this, because all it takes is one little bump. And then, that guy, and then you may have lost your life or a limb, right? So it's not a joke, right?
No, it happens so quick.
Yeah. Chainsaws, they're awesome. They really are, but they can also be really scary. I mean, I'm not gonna lie. Hey, I just put up Forest to Farm down there. That is correct, right? Because I can't remember. You don't have a hyphen in there. It's just Forest to Farm,
Forest to Farm, because we bought a forest and we're turning it into a farm.
Yeah. And that's another great channel of Brian's to go and look at, because again, he's been documenting this whole progress, and you'll see some cool things with his dad in there and all that kind of stuff. And you can see,
that's where Dad, this has been his dream since he was 5 years old, to build his own house. And his mom laughed at him like, how are you ever going to do that? He's like, just said, I'm going to learn how to do it. And he's worked construction his entire life, and he has constantly asked questions. He is very inquisitive, and he asked questions along the way the entire time he was working, of every sub who was doing a job, why they're doing this, why they're doing that, why don't they do this. He's seen this done, and he has learned everything about building a house and then developing gardens and farm and all this. And it's just, he is a wealth of knowledge when it comes to all that. So it's going to be awesome. I do more of the gun stuff on BHX just because he started me shooting when I was 4 years old, because we had guns in the house and he wanted me to know about them. And that has become my passion. And I'm fortunate that's what I do for a living now. And, I love the idea of farming and everything, and I can't wait to do it. But it has been like his life's passion is to do that. And I'm going to take more of a back seat with Forest to Farm and be documenting it, his journey basically of everything that we're doing out there. It's just, I can create more beautiful video if I'm behind the camera. So that's going to be my goal, is to create the best video I can there.
Yeah. And I've seen you try to drive that skid steer. So maybe you should just be stay behind the camera, not behind the wheel. Hey, I'm going to read a couple quick comments, and then we'll kind of start going over to another thing. And so now some of these comments, there's two of them that are a little bit old. I guess it looks like it's been over 15 minutes since I saw them. So I apologize to everybody. I try to read everybody's comments, and, knock on wood, this will get to the point where I can't read everybody's comments because there's a ton of them coming in. So keep the comments coming. But here we go. So Savage Lee, I don't think I've seen you over here before. So thank you for coming, sir or ma'am. And this is a little bit, and I'm not obfuscating. I'm not 100% sure how to interpret your comment, but I'm going to read it anyway. 5th thumbs up. Woohoo! Now, we do like the woos over here. And then, but the last thing, love your AR-15s, America. Now, I don't, again, some people may misinterpret that. I don't know what that means, but, you know, AR-15s, or maybe just say, love your weapons, America, like, you know, telling everybody that they should love them, or that we as Americans love weapons. I mean, however you want to like interpret savagely your comment, but you're absolutely right. And that is what, I don't take it as an insult. We are Americans. We are a very different culture. We were a culture born out of revolution. We're a culture born out of like suffering the injustices for a period of time. And that is who we are. And that does make us uniquely American. And somebody could say, well, it also makes you uniquely crime ridden and X, Y, and Z. Well, we could have that, you know, kind of philosophical conversation another time. But as you look over, you know, behind Brian, you know, dude, weapons platforms, rifles, handguns, they come in just like human beings in all shapes and sizes and flavors and colors and all these type of things. And I'll just say this, even if that was a negative comment, which I'm not interpreting as it is, but I'll just say it. Even if you're not doing it for like, you know, hunting or self-defense or your job, like if you're law enforcement or military, you know, that type of stuff, there is something very rewarding about learning how to master it. And I'll turn this over to Brian as a response. Learning how to master. Again, I'm not going to talk politics right now. Come over to Millstone SRG on Sunday. We'll have a little bit more of a conversation about the ballistics and, you know, and how all this stuff works. But just like golf, I mean, I know there's a lot of people who don't like golf and think it's a bullshit game. Go out and try to golf. And, you know, like, oh,
put that ball in a little tiny hole hundreds of yards away.
Yep. It's the same freaking thing. So, and then
on that note, I do, I like golf, but I do despise golf courses because they're beautiful rifle ranges.
Hey, you know what? I love golf courses. You know, I was doing pretty good. And then, you know, all my shit started breaking and all my stuff caught up to me. And, but walking 18 holes, you know, it just, and there's just something, it's just, you're still out there in nature, whether you know it or not. And then maybe it's just squirrels and geese, you know, and all that kind of crap, you know, but, you know, which is what you usually see around golf courses. But it's just great to be out there in a really good golf course that's really well kept and it's manicured. I mean, I don't know if that's the right word to use here, but dude, it's beautiful. And you are still out in nature. And, you know, and then, like you said, and then you're trying to practice all of those skills of bringing, you know, all of that stuff together, your muscles, your brain, your hands, your hips, you know, all, and then getting a small little, you know, ball to go into a small little hole, or you're doing all that stuff and you're pressing the trigger and all those other, it's still the same thing. It's incredibly fascinating to me. So, all right. So here we go. So again, just real quickly, you know, hey, Savagely, I don't know if that was meant to be, but I didn't take it that way. And yeah, we do. But it's not just AR-15s. We are a different type of culture, and we are a gun culture for the most part, unless you live in the cities. And then it's people with guns in the cities are usually thugs. And, you know, people in the country, like Brian and I have never committed a crime with guns. I mean, so yeah. Gene from across the pond with a big woo. Okay. Oh, I'm sorry. That's a Millstone. Just found it on BooTube. All right. Thanks, Gene. We already did the Forest to Farm. One more shout out for Brian's other channel, looking at the homesteading, and then you'll see his dad at work, and his dad's pretty kick ass. Yeah, seriously. Then we got Ground Fog with a big clap. That was more recently into what you were talking about, how to manage your land and what you're taking advantage of things. Snowshoe Dave chiming in. Manage what you have and use every bit of it.
Yep.
Brian, response to that? I mean, I agree with Snowshoe Dave.
Yeah, I completely agree. You know, it's like just like the Indians did. They used every part of a deer. You know, utilize every part of your property that you can, because in the long run, the biggest thing that Dad has taught me is if you can do for yourself, you're going to save a ton of money. You're going to save a ton of time. You're going to learn how to do so many other things in your life, and it's going to lead to doing more things. The only two things my dad has ever paid to have done is new tires on a vehicle, because he can't high-speed balance tires. You can, you know, not high-speed balance them, but it's not going to do well on the highway. And then he had a new air conditioning unit put in 25 years ago at his current house, and he ran the guy off halfway through because he was doing a horrible job, and my dad finished it. So everything else he has always done, and he taught me to be the same way. Be self-reliant, take care of yourself, and utilize everything you can at your disposal. And it's made a huge difference in our lives.
Hey, I'm going to throw one thing in there, though. Something I will never do is, well, maybe if it's interior walls and low, but I'm not sheetrocking, you know, ceilings. No, Screw that shit. So that's something that even though I can do it, I'm just going to hire somebody else to do it just because sheetrocking is tough.
It's a dirty job.
It is. It is. And then the last comment we had here was from Al, L3553. Whether people like it or not, freedom has a price. Amen, brother. It does.
Yep.
And so, and even just going in a slightly different direction as what Brian and his family are trying to do, that is freedom, is to, like, I want to be there. What I love about Brian and the people I've got to meet because of starting this business, or the people I've met in my previous life, for what I did, I just love it because I get to live vicariously, and I'm happily jealous. I wanted to be doing what Brian's doing. That was my goal. And then life, throws things at you, and maybe I can get back there. I'm still young enough where I can do it because that's what I want to do. Right. So it's great, but there's a price at that. It's hard work, right? It's failure. It's you got to create community. You got to have people who can help you out because, again, as I just said, I ain't doing sheetrocking. So maybe Brian's my neighbor and I convince him to do sheetrocking and I give him like a barbecue or some beer, some gear or something like that,
It's just like the build in our name, Build, Hunt, Explore. The build is building that community, building people you can rely on, growing as a community and making everything you can of it.
Yeah, rock and roll, my good man. Okay, so we're caught up on comments. How about and do you remember, that's like a 3-minute video?
That one from Henry was like a minute and a half.
Okay, so how about that? Because we're at 40 minutes right now. How about I do the Henry rifle video, and then we use that to segue into talking about we're talking about your passion. We see a bunch of cool ass ones behind you, but then that kind of goes into Henry and where you are now. Does that make sense?
And let me preface this video by saying this is an Instagram version, so it's vertical. The full version is just about ready to be launched, and it's the same length of video, except the rest of the video goes into talking about the rifle that is showcased in the video, and it's me shooting it and showing all the different use cases, basically a complete guide to that rifle for Henry. But then they wanted this as a reel it's the opener for the video. So when the full video launches on YouTube, you'll be able to see this video in horizontal fashion instead of vertical. That's the one thing I absolutely hate about Instagram, is trying to capture beautiful video in vertical format is very difficult. I mean, you can do it, but when you add a rifle into it and you're pointing, then instantly you've got to back up so much further to see the full rifle.
And I'm glad you just brought that up because I'm trying to get better at social media, and I'll be the first to admit, and if anyone out there watching, whether now live or on demand, if you've talked to me or, again, I'm not good at social media. It's taken me years just to be comfortable just being in front of the camera, and it's not because I'm not comfortable talking to people. That's what I did. I had to learn how to schmooze and get people to, give up state secrets. I can talk to people in person, the crowd, individuals, but the whole social media, because of my background, is just really hard to it was a really hard obstacle for me to overcome. And then now what you said, so I'm finally getting over it. And now everything is I just took a really cool video of, we had a huge rainstorm and the falls through the property was roaring, and I couldn't upload it because, those reels, they want, you're laughing, what I'm talking about. It's like, gosh, damn it. Seriously. Here I thought I was finally doing something good.
It's so rough, man. If they would make it where when you turn your phone, the video would rotate, everything would be perfect.
Yeah. Well, and then that's all that ScrewTube rewards right now is that kind of shit, is the reels on that, north, south, that.
The bad thing about that is people have lost their attention span. You are lucky to keep somebody locked in for 15 seconds.
Well, and I think that's actually being encouraged. I mean, so now somebody, I don't know, should I put on a tinfoil hat? But Brian ain't wrong. I mean, you guys, that's what it is. And if you're doing this for your business and, and if you're finally waking up and starting to be smart and looking at analytics, which I'm only just now doing. And then you start seeing the duration, how long people are. Move. It's does anyone even read a book? Seriously, no. Brian, I don't even know if anyone would read a book anymore.
Instruction manuals are not read anymore. So I am doing instructional series for Henry on the different rifles. I did the Homesteader. It's an 8-part series. They uploaded if you go to their website, you can actually see each chapter. So we've got cleaning, maintenance, range session, disassembly, reassembly, the whole 9 yards. Or if you go to the YouTube channel, you can see the entire video as one giant video, and it's 45 minutes long or something, and each one's a chapter. But It's because nobody reads instruction manuals anymore. And that's the easiest way to get it across, because people want to click and watch. And I mean, that's what we're doing right now. It's just the way things are now.
Yeah, that's sad. But we'll save that for another conversation, because that just kind of goes into like, well, no wonder. Are you surprised we are where we are? Because this is what you get when you promote, and this is how you see there. I'm getting already. I'll just shut up. So let me bring up your video here. Let me just do this. Okay, share screen. Okay, let me share this. All right. Let me just come back to okay, and let me just pop this up to full screen layout. All right, Brian, I don't know if you want to provide some commentary, because you know the deal. Once you know which one I'm about to click. Once I click on it, it's going to start playing. Do we just let it play and then you talk afterwards, or you want to do some? Yeah, let's just talk afterwards.
Well, yeah, we'll let it watch and then we'll talk after.
Okay, but do you want to set it up in any form or fashion before I hit play?
So, yeah, when we were planning to do the YouTube video for the U.S. survival rifle, I was like, hey, let's do something really fun with the opener. Again, I can't film myself doing something cool, and since I'm going to be in the video, I'm going to just have fun with it and see what we can do as far as creating a cool opener for the survival rifle and make it, as epic as I can while maintaining a budget. So we had to get creative, but I think it turned out really well. And keep in mind, when you watch this, I had just broken 2 ribs a week prior, and we had between 10 and 12 hours out there filming to shoot this 1.5-minute video, and out through the woods, rugged terrain, and I was in excruciating pain, to say the least. But as I've always said, anything for the shot.
Well, anything, to include stupidity and what, because so just inside baseball. So, I follow Brian, we talk every now and then, and I knew he had injured himself. And then this video comes out, and I'm like, so when did he do that? And he was like, and then he tells me, I'm like, hey, so weren't you already injured? And he's like, oh, dude, it sucked. I'm like, why did he's like, because you got to do what you got to do. And I'm like, yeah, but broken ribs are no joke, boys and girls.
No.
Not
and I crushed a vertebra years ago as well. And I have a rib that slips out on a regular basis because of that. And I go to the chiropractor pretty regularly to get that rib put back in place. I live at a pain level of 6 or 7 because of the issues I have in my back. And when I fell, I broke the 7th and 8th rib, and I could feel instantly when I hit that it jarred that whole area loose. And I can't get adjusted right now. When I lay down on my chest, I can still feel ribs moving internally that should not be moving. So it has not solidified. So it's like I'm just waiting, and it's not fun.
No. But what is fun is this video we're going to share. So let's go ahead and do this. Let me bring this up full screen. Why is it not doing that? Okay, here we go. All right, Brian.
Yep.
All right, everybody. I can't see anyone, but here we go. I'm going to hit play on this bad boy.
Unmute.
All right, that is, let me come back over here, get this out of here. All right, that is a great video. And I'm sorry, I kind of got ahead of myself. Let me bring this back up real quickly. I love this comment. I never even saw this before, but this Lever Prophet, he's like, great videography, right? So that's all you, Brian. But I love his next comment. watching that guy crawl out of the airplane crash, I had flashbacks of me getting out of bed this morning. I mean, that's pretty epic, you know. So Lever Prophet, pretty freaking badass for saying that. Talk us through, what did we just see there besides some awesome, well, again, and you said you had a budget, you know, but great videography, great story. And again, for me personally, and then, you know, even plug in the millstone again, you don't get to pick and choose. I mean, like, unless you intentionally crash that plane, shit just happens. And you need to have the mindset, the skills, the wherewithal to, and you know, the preparedness to actually survive whatever that thing is. Talk us through what you were thinking about there. I mean, and you did a great job of just capturing the Henry rifle too. But
so a lot of things came together to make that video happen that I was not expecting. I knew I wanted to do a plane crash. One of my absolute favorite books growing up was Hatchet. So I had to have a plane crash for the video, you know. And it turns out I know a surprising number of pilots. I started calling everybody I know and managed to get a hold of the mechanic at our local airport. And he said, hey, you know, I wanted to see if somebody had a plane that we could use and, you know, somehow make something look cool. I didn't want to have a crash. You know, I couldn't plan on crashing a plane, obviously. So I wanted something that looked cool. He said, well, actually, one of the charter pilots that works here, his company just decommissioned a plane. They stripped it and he took it home and is setting it up in the woods as a fort for his kids. And I was like,
hang on a second, just real quickly. You have an iPhone, don't you?
Yeah.
So I don't know if you saw yourself, but when you make the thumbs up gesture, it makes explosions, you know, fireworks behind you. So that was pretty badass, sir.
That's really funny. It's my MacBook. But yeah, so I called the guy and he said, yeah, come on out and check it out. And he said, I haven't set it up yet. We'll put it anywhere you want. So we went around his 30 acres and found the perfect spot to put it where it would be backlit from the sun. And the only thing that was fighting us is, so it was nose into the woods with a field behind it. And it was beautifully backlit. But the problem was, you know, if you've ever spent much time in the woods, generally you get a draft at some point during the day, if not all day, and it's pulling the cooler air out of the woods into the field where the heat is. And we have horrendous summers here in South Carolina. It's been 106 heat index a ton lately. Well, I set off some smoke. Well, first off, I called the fire department morning of. Well, I couldn't get a hold of the fire department because that area is a volunteer-only fire department. So we've done recruiting videos for the sheriff's department, worked with the SWAT team a lot. So I called the non-emergency line at the police department and said, hey, here's who I am. They knew me. And I said, this is what we're doing today. It just hit me that if we're setting off smoke bombs, people are going to think, A, there's a forest fire or a structure fire, and I'm going to have to pay for a fire truck coming out. So I want you to know this is what's going on. So she said, thanks so much. You know, I said, here's my number. If somebody's got a question, give me a call. My phone's going to be on me all day. And about an hour later, the fire chief for that volunteer fire department called. And I said, hey, you know, here's what we're doing. He said, I totally trust you and whatnot. He said, but I'd like to have an engine out there just in case, you know, somebody calls. I can say, hey, we're here. There's no fire. It's just, you know, a video being filmed. So I said, sure, no problem. Come on out. Well, they were hanging out in the background watching, and they saw that my smoke bombs were not doing as I'd wished, especially with the draft we had pulling air out. And we did a couple of takes, and we managed to get some pictures like that one you saw for the thumbnail, but I didn't get near what I wanted. And we finished a couple of takes, and he said, hey, would you like to have some more smoke? And I said, well, what do you mean? He said, back at the station, we've got smoke machines we use when we're training. It will put out tons of smoke. And he said, we'll be happy to run and get them. I was like, I'm not going to turn down free smoke. So they ran back to the fire station, got their smoke machines, got the generator to run the smoke machines. You know, they brought back another truck and a trailer plus the engine. And they were just more than happy to help out, which was so awesome. So, I mean, that was miracle number 2. Miracle number 1 was finding the plane. Miracle number 2 was those firemen. I mean, just awesome. I could not thank them enough for offering to help like they did. And they pumped that plane full of smoke. And then by the grace of God, we had about 45 seconds of the wind changed and blew into the woods. And that was where the thumbnail came from. The shot that I envisioned the moment I thought about putting a plane nose into those woods and being backlit was smoke filling the area and the sun's rays at 4 o'clock in the afternoon coming through that smoke and shining down. And I could just, you know, it's like a light from the heavens, basically. And that was miracle number 3, was the wind changed, the smoke blew in, and I had 45 seconds to take as many pictures as I could to get the perfect shot. And I am just overwhelmed with how that shot turned out. And that's nothing near it because it's cropped down vertical for Instagram. But the wide shot shows those rays, it's wider. It's just, I love how it turned out. We hired a makeup artist to come out, and it's a girl I worked with doing weddings. She owns a company of about, 100 and something girls and a handful of guys. And she grew up in theater in California and working in the movies. And she had a guy who moved out here who does makeup for movies. And he came out and I told him, no serious blood, because depending on how this is used, the algorithm will kill it if there's looks like real blood. So he just did broken nose, some bruising and whatnot, and it turned out phenomenal. I went out and bought all the clothes, and he said, can I tear these up? I said, that's the whole reason I bought clothes specifically for this shoot, is do what you need to do. So he ripped the pants, ripped the shirt, covered the guy in makeup, and I think he did a phenomenal job. He's got kind of some burns on his arm, it looks like, and just it turned out so nice.
So I'm sure you can see it and everybody can see it. I don't know if my cursor is showing up. I'm trying to highlight that thumbnail, but I'm not joking. That's just a great freaking standalone picture right there. Like there's a little bit of bewilderment, a little bit of like, what am I doing? He's got the cut on his leg. There's burn marks and charring. He's obviously slightly injured. That is, let's just be honest. That's the holy shit, what just happened to me moment, right? And I've got to figure out what I'm going to do and make this work.
Yeah. And that was that point when he comes out of the plane and he stops and bends down and the music drops. It's just like taking a breath, But there you go. But that divine intervention, that the normal wind patterns change. You can see that smoke coming through the sunlight. And you nailed it right there, my good man. That's awesome. Thank you. That was my dream for that entire shoot, was that picture. And I was so happy when the wind changed. I was like, everybody get in position. And I knew it wouldn't last. But it was awesome. A ton of fun, man. Absolutely so much fun. And that's what I love doing, is creating. I don't look at what I do as artwork a lot of the time, but it's things like that make me feel like I am an artist. I'm getting to create from nothing and turn it into something like that.
Hey, a comment just came in as for what we're talking about. I'll just show this. Gene from over in the UK. He says it reminds me of of like maybe some of those iconic images that you see in the thumbnails or whatever for Red Dawn. Wolverines. It has that. It is very iconic. It is
another one of my favorite movies.
Well, yeah, of course. You're not a robot. You're not dead inside. Of course you love
exactly. Yeah.
Okay, we're at 57. We try to do these about an hour. I think that was a great point to wrap. Well, okay. Well, maybe not. Do you want to kind of just do your own outro right now? Or here, I'm sorry. Again, give me a second. I also realized, and I apologize, everybody. I stupidly think that Brian can see what I see with my software. But then I realized, and somebody brought this up, that when I bring the guest on full screen, they can't see anything else except themselves. And that can be a little bit weird. But so, Brian, we got a couple more comments that just came in here. Somebody just said they thought you were the actor. No, Brian was the, I'll just show that. AVV, Angry Viking Veteran, said, I thought I thought Brian was the actor. No, Brian is he's the Stanley Kubrick behind the camera there, my good man.
Yeah.
So Brian, do we want to talk Henry a little bit? Do we want to wait? I mean, you already kind of talked Henry at the beginning, or should we just kind of wrap it up? But no matter what, I want to give you the next, few minutes. Where do you want to go, sir?
Whatever you want to do, I'm game.
Well, so we're at an hour. We're trying to do these in an hour. And I know I'm going to try, knock on wood. I'll try to bribe you and convince you to come over to the Millstone stuff to talk about homesteading in the not too distant future.
Absolutely.
So maybe let's just wrap it up. Give everybody your final comments, thoughts on whatever the subject is that you want to wrap up with.
You got to put me on the spot, don't you?
That's how we do it. That is exactly how we do it here.
Yeah. No, I'm grateful to be here. Mark has been trying to get me on for a long time, and life has been very busy. I have 2 kids, and like I said, building the homestead, working full time. It's been tough, but I told him I'd make time for sure, and I'm glad I did it. Thank you for having me on. I really enjoyed it, and it cracks me up looking back at the MCC and thinking, that's how we connected, and it's such a small world, but It's awesome. And once we finally get the homestead rolling, you got to come out and hang out for a while for sure.
Well, hey, just because you grabbed the MCC, let's end it on a fun little joke. And you'll either get what Brian and I are talking about, or you won't get it all. Like, so for those who know, no explanation is necessary. For those who don't know, no explanation is possible. But you see, Brian's got on his right, our left, he's got a platform right next to him. And, we had a little bit of a, he was showing that. I'm like, oh man, I should have got yours, and look, and Blake and those guys did a great job. They did some work on this, but then you see Brian's model that he's got.
And this is the Tactical Solutions model. So it's a little fancier than your standard 1022. It's a machined receiver, integrated pick rail, and it's cut out down the middle so you can see the sights. It has really nice fiber optic sights. It's an aluminum shroud over a stainless barrel. It's threaded, and it's just sexy. I mean, Tactical Solutions does it right. It's hands down one of my favorite little 22s. It's unbelievably accurate and just fun to shoot. And 22 in general is a ton of fun. Let's see, this lever gun right here is my favorite 22 lever gun. That is the
hang on a second. Let me bring you full screen so that might show up a little bit better. Do it again. Yep.
So that's the Henry H001T, and that is an octagonal barrel 22 long rifle. And at 100 yards on a C-zone steel, I can hit 10 out of 10 shots on the C-zone steel with those iron sights. At 200 yards, the brass bead is covering up the C-zone steel, and I can hit it 3 out of 5 times, no problem. That gun is insanely accurate, and everybody that shoots it wants to take it home. It's just, you can't beat it, hands down. I love a 22.
Yeah. So just a little inside baseball, like sometimes I'll just call Brian, like, hey, what kind of cool things did you do today? Because I was stuck inside cutting materials all day. Like, how many weapons did you shoot today? How many rounds did you put,
Put a lot of rounds down range today.
Yeah, right. So anyway, you got a little plug you want to make? Because look, obviously, and we got our SRDP, and you can shoulder strap carry and all that, giving a little plug for myself, but it fits. Yeah. But you don't have to plug this, right? Because you do you. If you don't, this is just another way of carrying. But I guess I want to ask you real quickly, not just the product, but is there? Oh gosh, and I shouldn't maybe ask you this. This might put you on the spot. What are your thoughts on takedowns? Like on 410 22 combo 22. What are your thoughts on that? How about we go that for our final outro thing?
I think, realistically, for my needs, if I was carrying a takedown rifle, and it had to be like a 410 or a 22 or a combo of those, I would go straight 22 because I can harvest most of what I need, especially in the Southeast, with a 22, and it's going to do the job. I can carry way more ammo than I can versus a 410, and it's going to get the job done. And I know my capabilities and my limitations, and I am very confident behind a 22, so I have no problems using that to harvest game.
And on that note, and I'm not plugging my product, but I'm saying go back to some of the SRDP videos that I shot, because this was a learning experience for me. Like that whole takedown survival rifle industry has totally blossomed, and and Kel-Tec's got some cool stuff. I mean, like there's so many cool things out there. I'd love it if I was, Elon Musk, who just made me want to force me to pay for a premium membership to stream on his service. But if I had Elon Musk's, money, I would have bought every possible takedown out there just to figure out what does and does. But I had great guys and gals, who were helping me out, who had a bunch of things. So I've got a Chiap, I've got this, they helped out. But so here, let's put a smile on everybody's face as we walk off here. Just like, for what you're doing for, your relationship with Henry and, and your program, your YouTube channel, what you're trying to do, whether it's Force to Farm or BuildHuntXplore, and your passion, again, lever guns and all, maybe a last little comment on that. There's a lot of stuff out there. Not everybody can, do X, Y, and Z. Kind of like what you just kind of did with hey, if you got a takedown that's a 410 and a 22, well, now you've got two different sources, food groups that you have to feed it, right? And then there's then it's a cube and weight issue. 410 rounds aren't very big and they're not very heavy, but you can carry a lot more 22 long rifle than you can, kind of see where I'm trying to give you a nice little softball on the way out. Like, what are your thoughts on just that in general, right? There's a lot of platforms out there. And I'm glad we started off with that 4570. I grew up, my dad had a 4570 that was in the family from the Spanish-American War era.
Yeah.
I've always loved that gun, right? So
yeah.
What are your kind of little final thoughts on that? If you wanted to make one more recommendation to people, what would it be? Or is the recommend, or is there no such thing as one more recommendation?
Oh man, there's so many recommendations.
That's what I was kind of thinking. That's maybe a dick question on my side.
Well, they're
just tools, right? And every tool does different jobs.
Exactly. But I do have a recommendation. And I'm in a unique perspective because of what I do for a living. I have a wide variety of all kinds of things to pick from.
See, that's what I was trying to fish at, is that because of what you do. Yep.
Yeah, and all the accoutrements to go with it. It's like I have a wide variety to pick from, fortunately. And it's so easy to focus on wanting the latest and greatest and the newest piece of kit or gear or rifle or accessory for that rifle. It's not going to make you a better shooter. It's not going to, change your life dramatically. Make do with what you got and practice with what you have and get efficient. You can't know where your faults are and what you need to improve until you push your limits and find your faults. You can't magically think, that scope's going to make me a better shooter. Have you really pushed the scope you have to its limits? Is it truly going to be that much of a difference? Or, just anything like that. So make the best of what you got and really practice with it until you find your limits with what you have, because you can blow so much money in this industry. And it's sad how expensive things are, but it's the way it is, And so really practice and hone your skills before you start blowing tons of money on new kit and new gear. Like, Mark's gun's going to do everything this gun will. This one's just really sexy, but this gun costs way more than that one you've got, Mark. And I can do everything with your gun that I can with this gun,
Except you can shoot suppressed and I can't.
Yeah, but there's nowhere to store a suppressor on this gun. So I've got to carry that separate. So that's the nice thing about the SRDP is I can throw a little pouch on the outside of that to carry suppressor, first aid kit, some extra little kit, fishing kit, the whole nine yards.
Chewies, whatever. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But I love where you just went. So I did a bad job of framing that and setting that question up, but you delivered, because that's what I wanted to hear. It's like, don't first learn and master whatever your technique, outperform your platform. There's no point in going into something super expensive or, then again, as you said, Brian, the latest and greatest, if you haven't even mastered the fundamentals. So you can master those fundamentals on a cheaper platform, whether it's a handgun, a long gun, a bow, the same friggin' thing, right? And then once you're getting that, and then you're realizing like, hey, I'm performing better than this platform is, then look at that. That's what I was trying to fish for. And I didn't do a good job of setting that question up, but you're
good. Here's a big thing. Just like driving a stick, who knows how to use iron sights these days? People throw a red dot on it and go. Nobody thinks about utilizing iron sights. That red dot can and will fail. They break. They're not bulletproof. They're not drop proof. They will eventually break. Can you utilize your iron sights and actually hit a target?
Yeah. And then that's why that video was so good, because, unlike, so I've got a little optic set up on mine. Yeah, that kind of shows up, just a real small little red dot. And I'm not a big fan of red dots, to tell the truth. But in this case, I wanted a red dot over the irons. But back to Brian's point, and then you see it in the video, that guy in that real world scenario, even though it's just a video, but that's what it's capturing. He doesn't have any other, he's got a knife, he's got a small tin with some survival gear in it, and he's got his weapon. And now he's at least, as the shock is wearing off, and we didn't, maybe in the bigger video, like he's probably, taking some time to dress his wound and all that kind of crap. He's making a little shelter, and he's just getting his wits about him, but he also harvested some protein for dinner, right? And he did that with iron sights. And so to your point, master the fundamentals before you start, trying to be fast and cool guy and all that kind of crap.
That's it. Oh,
is that a fair way?
Yeah. One thing is that rifle, as far as accuracy goes, I was genuinely surprised when I took it out and did the video actually shooting. I had one of the ballistic gel squirrels and set it up. And I think I was about 25, 30 yards out. And that rifle will only run with high velocity ammo. It's got to be like 1250 or faster. We were running the CCI Stingers at 1600 feet per second. And I mean, everything was in a quarter size that I was shooting. It was really surprising how accurate that gun is with the iron sights it has. So it's a very good gun for the money.
Rock and roll. All right, my good man. We had a comment that came in here just as we were kind of wrapping up. And let's, we'll use it as our great, as our outro. Snowshoe Dave, again, good guy. Just actually talked to him not too long ago. But thanks, Brian. Good program. All right. So Snowshoe, thank you for watching. Thank you to everyone, whether you watch us on demand, whether you're watching this live, but you're probably not watching it on X or Twitter because we can't do that anymore for some whatever. But Elon Musk, don't you have enough money? He's like, no, that's why I have a lot of money.
That's why he's charging.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, he's no idiot, right? All right, Brian, if you don't mind, I do like doing after action review. So as I do my outro and wrap things up, do what you got to do. And I'll maybe give you a call in about 10 minutes after we're done. Are you okay with that? You got just a little bit more time?
Sure thing.
Okay. Yeah, I already taken up a bunch of yours. But again, thanks to everybody for watching. Huge shout out and thanks to Brian. I mean, I'm not joking. This guy is a busy Muldoon and he's doing it all with broken ribs because he's, because that's how we do things. We're just idiots sometimes. But
that's the way men are.
Yeah, seriously. All right. Next week, our guest for the live stream next week is Murph. Great, another great, seriously, Brian, I guess maybe one of my closing statements is, even though I don't like social media and it's taken me a long time to, be more comfortable with it, man, I tell you, just meeting like you and I have never even had a beer in person, but like we've known each other now over years. There's so many great men and women out there. So this is where this can work, right? It really can work. So I encourage everybody out there, don't just be, like, oh, the 50, like we kind of said earlier, like, oh, 15 seconds swipe left or however you want to phrase that. This can actually be used for good, right? It can be a tool for community, for, reaching out to people. And I have personally found, and so Brian, he's being very kind and talking about the Mother Canteen care and stuff, but it was Brian who was like so amenable to talking to me and being open and sharing things. And that's how that all starts. And there are good men and women out there, and these platforms can be used for positive community building, however you want to look at that, whatever phrase you want to apply to it. So, so I definitely really appreciate everybody. Appreciate Brian. Next week is Murph, another great guy, again, in that same genre of what we're talking about. This Sunday, last plug here in this video, excuse me. So Sunday, the 21st of July at 1700 Central Daylight Time over on the Millstone SRG. And again, no more jokes here, but apparently we won't be able to do this on Twitter. So that'll be live on ScrewTube and Rumble. I'll have to figure out if we're going to spend the money to get a, premium account over there. I'm not 100% sure. I got to talk to Blake about that. It's not just my decision, but give us a follow, and then hopefully we'll see everybody on Sunday. It's the start of a new venture that we're doing. We are definitely, I will have to bribe Brian with another mother or something, because we kind of skimmed over a lot. This guy and his dad, his family, they've been doing some serious homesteading. Again, community. It's not just always kinetic. There's so many things. Even if we just sat and talked about how to drop freaking trees with a chainsaw. I mean, that's value. You don't know what you don't know, right, Brian? I mean, it's valuable information.
Closing thing along those lines, I've got an entire video on the channel based on digging up stumps with a mini excavator. And it seems simple, right? Every species of tree has a different root pattern.
Yep.
Tap roots, top roots, tap and top roots. Sometimes they're rubbery, sometimes they break. So I did a video digging up like 6 or 7 different species of trees and showing you how each tree needs to be approached.
Well, and then there's different techniques for you to do it, because some people would say, grind that shit down, as low as you can, and then just oil in a can over the top of it and just let it slow burn for a couple days, So again, techniques, right?
Yeah.
And see, and I want to and I'll do this in the AR, I'll save it for that. I want to geek out about your chainsaw, what kind of chainsaw you're running, what length bar, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
All of this, people would be like, what the hell are these guys talking about? We're going to a bar? No, the length of the bar on your chains. We'll save that for later. All right, Brian, final comments? Otherwise, I'm just going to wrap this up here. Then.
I'm good.
All right. Thank you once again for coming on.
Thank you.
Yeah, no, thank you. Thanks for sharing your information, taking time away. I'll do my outro, and you and I will still be live for a couple seconds, so I'll wrap it up there. For everybody else, again, thanks for watching the live streams. Just a friendly reminder, we only do the live streams, Centerline Systems, on Thursdays now, right? So we started that right before the Independence Day break. That was our last Monday. And then, so it's only Thursdays because I need to get off my ass and I need to generate a little bit more time so I can start producing more content that has to do with the gear that I make, right? So I know, crazy, actually trying to promote my own shit, right?
Why would you want to do that?
I don't know. Put eggs in my refrigerator, I suppose, something like that. All right, everybody. But if not, I hope I see some of you guys over on Millstone SRG. We're on 4 different platforms right now. So we are on Twitter, even though we may not be able to live stream there. So we're on ScrewTube, Rumble, Twitter, and Insta. And just stay tuned. We're just starting. So there's going to be a lot more to come. Brian, anything?
I'm good. Thanks for watching, guys. Had a blast.
All right, everybody. You know the deal. Keep thinking. Well, actually, let me take a step back. If you got questions, comments, you hear me say it, but I mean it every time. Reach out. I'll do the best I can. Right? That's what I'm here for. That's part of my job too. So, but until then, keep thinking, keep moving, never quit. All right, Gene, here we go, sir. Woo! All right. Technically.